Hello everyone. So I'm going to show you a little how-to guide from an idea that Khaira came up with creating a custom membrane. And the first step is we load the CBCT scan into a program called Inversalius. And using Inversalius you can select the correct density that you're looking to create the surface map of. And once you've selected that density, the software will automatically generate a STL based on the position of where that density is and create a 3D object. So the 3D object you can see here we've generated of the bone in this DICOM file. We'll then export into a 3D surface and load that into Meshmixer. Once we've loaded that STL into Meshmixer, we can smooth the area that we want to create the custom bone graft membrane for. And the main reason for that is because of what we're going to do later on with extruding it. We don't really want that rougher surface. So while you could particularly do that, it just makes life easier for you, and especially with computing power. So we'll smooth that surface off. And once we've smoothed it, we can use the sculpt tools to add to that area as well. So we'll smooth it off and then go back to sculpt and select another object. When I'm smoothing this bit off now, I'm using the bubble smooth command because bubble smooth won't flatten anything off, it'll only add to it, so it's not going to cause any problems with the guide not fitting later on. So bubble smooth we can use there. Then go on to add and build up this area you can see on the lower left 6 area, and we want to build that up to where we'd ideally like the bone to be and fill in any holes, that sort of thing, because what we want is a nice smooth surface again to be able to extrude later on. So smooth it off and then we're pretty good. Fill in that little bit there. That's all nice and smooth, that's good. So to make life easier for us as well, we're going to cut away anywhere we're not going to be using. So we'll select and then go around and click everywhere on the areas which we want to remove. Press X and then pop, we'll get rid of that. You can see we've got this little section of bone. Now because we were selecting the density before, you can see there's this little bit of bone inside that surface we want to really get rid of. We want to make this STL as simple as possible just to make it easier for us processing wise, and get rid of that. There we go. Now from playing around with this, once we've done this with getting rid of all these little bits, we again, to make life easier for us, we don't need an incredible amount of accuracy on the surface of this, so we will convert that to a solid object, and then once we've done that, select over the area that we want to create the membrane for. One thing that I saw from this case, we had to be careful selecting to make sure that we didn't select too much so that the eventual guide that we'd produced wouldn't fit down into the gap, obviously, and that's just really looking down over the top and visualizing the path of insertion. So once we've selected all that, we'll extrude. And I didn't say, by the way, sorry, before we start this process selecting extruding, we'll duplicate that object and have 2 objects so that we've extruded, and we can select both objects, select Boolean difference, and Meshmixer will automatically create what we've raised as a surface and subtract the original image. So we now have a membrane that is an overall shape of what we want to create with the bone underneath, which will give us a gap ready for the bone graft material, or however Pav dreams up we can use this. So smoothing off the edges will just make life easier for the mill rather than having any jagged edges that will just chip away. So I'm just going to over smooth that a little bit, and then we can just export that as an STL. So hopefully create a nice zirconia membrane that should hold things well and be able to be popped off later on. There you go, Pav. Hope you enjoyed it.